Hey, good afternoon. Kevin Martin here, your UT admissions guy, filming today from Kaikoura on New Zealand South Island. It's my Tuesday afternoon around 2:30, and so that puts it at between like 7 and 8 p.m. Central Time in Texas. UT Austin has just released their main kind of wave of out-of-state rejections and Texas resident cap offers. As far as I can tell, no students have gained admissions today. There's maybe one or two, but it seems like this was like pretty much an entirely bad news kind of afternoon. I know 2020 was not the year that most of us hoped it would be, and I know for tens of thousands of you, this was not the news that you wanted to receive for 2021. So I just first want to issue congratulations for the students that gained admission to UT Austin. I know there's still a lot of honors admissions decisions waiting to hear back. I saw engineering honors deferred a number of their applicants. I haven't heard anything from business honors, CSB, touring scholars, Moody honors. Haven't heard anything from those yet. I know Plan 2 and liberal arts honors have released some amount of their decisions. They sort of trickled them out. And so for those admitted students still waiting for honors, I think you're just going to have to sit tight. I know some have kind of deferred formally, but even last year, business honors, for example, they were interviewing students all the way up until the end of January, and they didn't release their decisions until sometimes like mid to late February. So honors programs, they just kind of do what they want. I know there's this kind of like guarantee of February 1, and as you can see, UT Austin released their decisions, right up to that February 1st Monday deadline. So that suggests to me that they were behind on reviewing their applications this year. I think that's going to be true with universities nationwide because UT Austin, like others, have seen record numbers of applications. They released a sort of official video about a week ago saying that around 66,000 applications were received for an enrolling class of around 8,500. That means they probably admitted around 17 to 18,000 students. I sort of crunched the numbers. I won't get into the specifics here, but just the highlights is that the overall admissions rate is something between 25 and 27%. The non-automatic admissions rate, those students outside the top 6% who are Texas residents, is around 13%. And then with the available spaces left over for out-of-state international applicants, there's about a 7 to 8% admissions rate. So it's no secret that UT Austin is competitive. They have a very aggressive recruitment campaign that I've been reading, quite a lot about. I have students that are in that recruitment funnel. I see what the emails look like, and I know it's super frustrating and very disappointing when, like every other university, like every other flagship public university says, this is when we're going to let you know. We're going to let you know whether you're admitted or rejected, rather than this like piecemeal trickling out of the admissions decisions. And so I know the waiting game for many of you has been a very unpleasant experience. It probably feels very alienating at times. The video I recorded just before this one, I sort of, share a bunch of frustrations about what that looks like. And so for those of you that were waiting and just now received bad news, especially in this one big kind of release of bad news, it's just frustrating, right? So the reason that UT Austin does this release as piecemeal, for example, in December 10th and then some in January, it's basically an enrollment management technique because they're looking to see how many of those admitted students from December 10th go ahead and accept their admissions offer. That will indicate to their enrollment management office how many students they still need to admit in order to yield enough students to make those final sort of couple thousand spaces in their class. And so it's essentially a tool for the universities to manage their enrollment better. So it helps on the university side, but obviously that comes at the expense of a student's well-being and these kind of overwhelming feelings of anxiety and uncertainty. And it's just, it's unfortunate, and it doesn't need to be like this. And I know that this buildup leading to a disappointment makes those feelings sort of even more amplified. And so my suggestion to you is that, there's nothing you need to do right this moment. For those students who have received CAP, the CAP portal opens up, I believe, on 6 p.m. on February 12th. So for those of you that have received the CAP offer, you can't actually accept your CAP contract for another 2 weeks or so. There's a lot of FAQs about CAP. I just would suggest for you to read more about it, see if it's the right fit for you. CAP does mean that you were not admitted to the university, right? So like thousands of students get CAP and like they don't realize that it's a rejection, right? Like that's another really frustrating thing about UT Austin or college admissions when they say like, we've had this record number of classes and your application was great, but they don't just come out and say that you weren't admitted. So like CAP is a rejection, right? Like, it is a pathway program. It only guarantees admission into liberal arts. And so if you're wanting any other major except liberal arts, like, CAP doesn't really help you that much, right? But if you were a liberal arts applicant outside the top 6% that was not offered admission, CAP may be a good fit for you. Don't do CAP if you're trying to think that you're going to change into business or computer science or engineering, like, once you get on campus at UT. That's just honestly not a very good idea. If you're super committed to studying STEM or business, it's probably a better idea to enroll at your second or third choice university where you can begin your studies and potentially look into the external transfer process. I have lengthy posts about internal and external transfers that I'll put in the information section of this video. So go check out those posts, read them very closely. That'll help you decide whether CAP is the right decision for you. Another type of student that CAP is probably not a good fit for is if you have a lot of AP credit or dual credit. CAP is probably not a good choice because you must take 15 hours in the fall and the spring, and those can't come from dual credit or advanced placement IB. So there is a certain type of student that CAP is a good fit for, but if you want Arlington or San Antonio for your campus, you need to make sure that you're on like multiple devices on February 12th, like half an hour before 6 p.m., because those spaces will definitely fill up within, say, 10 or 15 minutes, or at most a half an hour. So that's a little bit about CAP transfer. Some students every year, I've made a post. One of the biggest misconceptions about transferring is if attending Austin Community College, ACC will help your admissions chances. It doesn't. Attending ACC is just a really bad idea if you're not from Central Texas. I have a dedicated post, texadmissions.com/ACC. I'll put that in the information section of this video. Don't go to ACC if you're not from Austin. It's a really bad idea. It costs like 10 times the price of your local community college, and it simply makes no difference in an eventual UT Austin transfer. So don't go to ACC. Those are a few of the FAQs I'm receiving right now. Obviously, the big one is appeals, right? So there's appeals. There are some students who were deferred for architecture and fine arts. I haven't heard of any other deferrals for any other major, so it seems like students were either outright rejected. There was no wait list this year. I think this is 4 of the last 5 years UT Austin has not done any wait list at all, so that gives us to appeals, right? If you're watching this video, you're probably wondering about appeals, whether you should appeal. Look, my first piece of advice is if you want to appeal, you don't have to do it as soon as possible. I know as soon as you get this like rejection, CAP admissions decision, like I literally get hundreds of emails asking me like, should I appeal? And you know, look, give it a try if you want to. I talked in my previous video that you absolutely 100% should not hire anybody to help you with the appeals process. Not for the appeals essay, not for advice about recommendation letters or updating your information. Just don't hire someone to do an appeal. It's a waste of money. I, under no circumstances, except for those students who are already my clients who did not receive favorable news, I assist them with appeals because it's part of our service package. But for students who are not my clients, families who are not my clients, I don't help with appeals. I don't do appeals phone call consultations. I don't start taking on prospective transfer students either until a student has received at least some of their college hours. And so for students looking for spring 2022, or yeah, I guess it'd be, spring 2022 appeals, I don't start having those conversations until the summer, and for fall, I don't start having those conversations until the end of the year. So I know there's this impetus to want to like do an appeal and figure it all out and have your next 5 years ahead of you, but honestly, no action needs to be taken at this time. And so just take a few days before you go down the appeals route. And so, right, I mentioned this kind of enrollment management, and they're looking to see how many students they admit, how many are going to enroll for a projected class of 8,500. Appeals has almost everything to do with the needs of not just UT Austin, but universities everywhere, right? Like deferred appeals, letters of continued interest, this whole sort of constellation of like, you know, you weren't admitted or you weren't good enough, but like, yeah, please like continue to express your desire to enroll at our university, right? Like, it just has to do with putting butts in the seats, and they're going to look at their numbers and see like, okay, do we have spaces in this major or that major, and whether to admit students into different programs or not, or whether to admit students by appeal at all. Appeals in some years, like literally 0 students get them, right? Like some students never get appeals at all. And some year appeals are kind of like a wait list, and it's honestly super random, right? And UT is going to open up the appeals portal. Sometimes they wait. I haven't checked to see if it's already open, but sometimes they'll wait a few weeks before they open it up formally, and there's a deadline with which you have to submit your appeal. Look, put your head in the ring. Submit an appeal, see what happens. There's no guarantee you're going to hear back by May 1, so a lot of universities will require you to put down an enrollment deposit by that May 1 deadline. But last year, for example, this was totally crazy. So there were students who received their appeals decisions past May 1st in the month of April. There was also a crop of like a few hundred students, primarily I think to natural sciences and business, that just like randomly got admissions offers in June, July, August. They had been offered cap or denied, they appealed, their appeal was denied, and then just like suddenly, out of nowhere, they were offered admission. So I have no idea if that's going to happen this year. That's why I call the whole process an appeals lottery, and hiring someone to help you get a better winning lottery ticket is just honestly really stupid. And there's going to be a lot of like professionals or people on College Confidential or Reddit, they're going to come out of the woodwork and try and take your money, and they're happy to exploit the disappointment and the grief that families are feeling in order to offer false hope. So that's my public service announcement. If you want to submit an appeal, don't hire someone to do it. If you've had updates or new information to include, I mean like significant information to include that you did not include in your original application, so basically from the time you submitted until now, if you're, for example, nominated for the Presidential Scholars Program, if you're a National Merit semifinalist, if you had a national or international level achievement, if you have a publication, some big thing, not like I became secretary in a club, that's probably not new and significant information. The other grounds with which you might be able to appeal is if there was some error that was made in your application. For example, I know there's a lot of question marks this year about test optional, whether your test score was considered or not. If you think there was something wrong with your test score, yeah, submit an appeal again. Like, probably isn't going to make any difference. The actual content of your appeals letter honestly doesn't make any much difference at all. Another FAQ that I receive right now around this time is students that were not given their first choice major, or top 6% applicants who were not given either their first or their second choice major, and they were randomly given a major that they knowingly or unknowingly selected. There was this new question on page 9 of Apply Texas this year that said, if you're not given your first or second choice major, which of these programs among like communications, undergraduate studies, liberal arts, maybe education, social work, would you like to receive? That's why students that top 6% that didn't get first or second choice major were getting like liberal arts undeclared. I think it's because of this box on page 9 on Apply Texas. In previous years, students were given a list of majors to choose from. Most students did not receive a second choice major. There were some engineering applicants that might have gotten civil engineering or petroleum engineering as a second choice. But again, if you didn't get your first choice, you weren't getting anything at all. If you're applying for like electrical computer engineering, computational engineering, computer science, neuroscience, chemical engineering, any of these highly competitive programs, business, for example, you're probably not going to get those on appeal. If you weren't offered admission, those spaces are almost certainly full, and I wouldn't even bother trying. And that comes to this kind of general theme that's happening at universities over the last 5 years. I'm calling it the STEM, non-STEM bifurcation. And a bifurcation is essentially a splitting of something whole into two different groups. And so what's happening at universities nationwide is you have STEM applicant pools plus business, for example, and then you have non-STEM programs, communications, liberal arts, etc. And so overall university admissions rates might be relatively high. The University of Illinois is a perfect example. I think they admit like 45 or 50% of all of their applicants, but computer science applicants are like at a 12% admissions rate. Carnegie Mellon is the same way. I think their like regular decision computer science admissions rate is like stupid low. It's like below 5%. Even for early decision computer science at Carnegie Mellon is like 10%, very low. Even though the overall admissions rate for Carnegie Mellon might be 20, I think it's like 20-25%, and for specific majors it's in the 30s. And so the same is true at UT Austin. So even if the overall admissions rate is 25 to 27%, admissions rate for those highly selective engineering or computer science programs might be in the low teens. It could even be in the single digits. We simply don't know. UT Austin is notoriously non-transparent about their admission statistics. So we simply don't know how many spaces are available relative to the number of applicants for these in-demand majors. And so at universities nationwide, if you're applying for STEM programs, it's just going to be a lot more competitive. So if you're a junior or high school sophomore watching this video, just keep in mind that there's a lot more to the admission statistics beyond what you see based on the raw numbers. And so if that data isn't available for those STEM or more in-demand majors, it's oftentimes very difficult to know on the outset exactly how competitive these programs are. And so that's why you see on College Confidential or Reddit students that are, wow, I was top 2% with a 1550 and I got denied, or I was a 40-acre semifinalist and didn't gain regular admission to UT Austin, or I got interviewed for business honors and didn't get admitted to regular business. You're going to see these kinds of outcomes, and you're going to see students that didn't get into UT Austin that are going to get into the University of Michigan or California, Berkeley, or even the Ivy League in some instances. I've had clients like that have gotten into universities that are substantially more competitive. And it just goes to show how unpredictable UT Austin is, especially for out-of-state, non-Texas residents, international students. UT Austin is just super, super hard to get into. It's a very unpredictable and inconsistent process. Every year there are students that I am like almost certain will gain admission who don't. There are other applicants who I'm pretty confident are like probably not going to get in, or they're very much on the borderline that do gain admission. I think this year I've had at least, 8 or so that were on the border or that I was not confident about, especially for those business, computer science, engineering majors that do get in. And so that's just the nature of college admissions. It's highly unpredictable. It's very random. I'm working on a new project this year, writing a book called Surviving the College Admissions Madness that is just kind of a complete takedown of this admission system. It's not specific to UT Austin, but in fact it looks at sort of the entire ecosystem of college applications and college admissions. And so for any of you that have younger siblings, parents watching this video with younger children, any educators out there, if you want more information about that book, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's where I'll start releasing some of the initial content. I'll have an entirely new content platform and website, so that will be totally separate from UT Admissions Guy and Texas Admissions. I'll start posting under a new Reddit username as well, Admissions Madness. Some of you might know me on Reddit as Blue Light Special. So for things that are specific to UT, I'll continue posting under that username. Like I say, I don't help with appeals. I know you want to plan out your whole life right now, but please just wait at least a month or two to start asking these questions about transferring. I've published everything I know about appeals, about transferring online. It's publicly available. It's free. So please consult those resources. Again, consult official resources where you can, but especially in the case of UT Austin, there's just such little information. Their Be a Longhorn Twitter profile is just a recruitment pitch. It's just trying to persuade you to go to UT Austin. It provides no information whatsoever. There was no updates about when students were going to find out. And so I've tried my best to share what I know. I've tried my best not to speculate about the things that I don't know. I'll continue updating that appeals post with new information that I receive. I think that's everything I have for now. My final piece of advice is just take care of yourself. I know this sucks. If you want to contact someone in UT Austin admissions, why not? You have nothing to lose. Your admissions decision is not going to be changed by contacting somebody, but if you want to shoot someone an email, go for it. Again, I just would recommend taking a few days off and sort of let the dust settle before making any decisions. Wait to see what other admissions decisions that you have release. And so, anyways, if you made it this far, I hope that you've enjoyed my video. Again, check out the information section of this video for additional content and blog posts that can reference some of these frequently asked questions. And for those of you interested in transferring, again, reach out in a few months. And for any juniors or sophomores watching this video, I'm taking on clients for fall 2022 freshmen. So thanks, and I hope that you take care of yourself and that you've enjoyed this video.